Ladies and gentlemen, Geri Petito.
I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
When you don't know just what to do,
Just what to do, just what to do.
if what you're feeling is really true,
Is it really true? Is it really true?
just keep your ideas safe and sound.
Safe and sound, safe and sound.
That's exactly how change is found.
Change is found, change is found. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geri Petito Show. Everyone and anyone who knows me knows I am the author of I'm Not an Addict, I'm Just an Ass. I'd rather be a smartass than a dumbass. Because, guys, 33 years ago I was a dumbass. But today, 33 years later, through the grace of God, I can honestly say now I'm a smartass. Yes, the word ass is in the Bible at least 40 times, and it means donkey, and that's what I was. I'm saying all that to say this, guys. You know, there's a lot of people out there struggling with their health, with addiction, with recovery, and I'm here to help you. All my services to you are free. I'm a nutritional health coach. I'm also a recovery coach. Please, please reach out. If you think my book can help someone, because I sure do, you can go right to Simon & Schuster's bookstore, Archway Publishing, BAM, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You could even go to my website, www.geripetito.com. I want to give a shout out to a few of my sponsors. The first one is John Bishop, a.k.a. Johnny B., singer, songwriter, host of the Entertainment Luncheon South, a nonprofit network created for the creative. Facebook group page, Entertainment Luncheon South, partner in the Joey D and Johnny B Rockin' Oldies Band. What they do is incredible. Once a month, they don't make a penny on it, and they have this incredible luncheon for all the entertainers. It's by invite only, and he brings in some amazing people for us to all connect. And I just want to say thank you to Johnny B for everything he does for all of us. He promotes all of us incredibly. Michael D'Amore, singer, songwriter, performer, entertainer. www.michaeldamore.com. Please check out his songs. Michael D'Amore is off the charts. He's the new lead singer with the Capris. He's amazing. John Monforto, the man of many faces, singer, actor, celebrity impersonator, and tribute artist. He was given the name, guys, by the former Philadelphia mayor as the official Philadelphia Rocky impersonator, and I named him the man of many faces. He does about 30 of them. Incredible. And of course, the Italian in me, my favorites are Rocky, The Godfather, and Elvis. Come on.
Yeah.
www.johnmonforto.com. And last but certainly not least, Michael Zanman, singer, entertainer, performer, www.mzanman.com. Incredible guy, off the chart energy. Okay, check him out as well. Great singer. So, guys, you know I always bring it, right? Well, honey, I am bringing it again. A big shout out to Caden Gordon for this amazing introduction here. Caden, I love you. You know we all love you, man. You rock. And he's got a lot of things going on. Vote for him, please. Okay? I voted for him already twice. Let's go. So, I want to introduce my incredible guest, Mark Anthony. Say hello to everyone.
Hey, Geri, it is great to meet you. Thank you for having me on your show. It's a pleasure.
No, thank you. I'm the one who's honored. This is really cool. So, all right, you go by Mark Anthony,
Uh-huh.
and you have the Mark Anthony Ensemble?
Correct. That is my band.
That's your band. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So, before we get into all that, I wrote something down, and tell me what this means. Eagles-ish.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's close.
Okay,
That
come
is
on.
close. You know, when people say Eagles, nowadays we would call that Americana music.
Okay.
In the old days, you know, when I was growing up, we would call that folk rock. They weren't real rock and roll, and they weren't real country. They were somewhere stuck in the middle. So, you know, my music is purely Americana. And so when I tell people, if they don't understand that term, I just say, think Eagles and you'll be close.
I love
it's
it.
acoustic music with a rock edge.
I love that. Okay, that's so cool. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Let's start there.
Yeah, I came here, gosh, it's been now 36 years. I came here in 1987 to become an artist, and things were going well at that time. I came here and was married at the time, had no children, so I was heavily pursuing the music business while I was working full time during the day. I got on local television. I made a steady diet of writers, writers' nights, writer shows to introduce myself to the songwriting community here. And things started going pretty good. I got on local television. Then I got on a national television, a video competition on Discovery Television. There were only 100 contestants in the entire country, and I was representing Nashville. So I wanted to take that opportunity to say, hey, here I am as a songwriter. I want to make my mark. So what's funny about that story is that out of 100 contestants, I was the only guy that sang an original song.
Oh,
Everybody else did a cover tune. But I was here in Nashville where it was all about original music, original lyrics. So I wanted to, make that mark at least and say, hey, here I am, new singer-songwriter. And then, as God would have it, in his infinite wisdom, my wife at that time became pregnant with our first child, which is Mark, who is now 33 years old. And so I, at that point, at that climax of where I had gotten, I literally disappeared for the next 20 years. And, I kicked into autopilot, Jerry. I did what my dad did. And that was, I came to the realization that I don't need to be in the bars and clubs anymore. I need to be home, be a husband, be a father. And I did a very good job of that, raising two children for the next 20 some odd years, and literally just disappeared. And people said, hey, where did that Mark guy go? But, I was doing what I felt I was called to do and raise my family and do the right thing. And so I took that hiatus and then came back. When I got near retirement age, I had two careers, two full-time careers. And all that time I was writing songs and storing them away, if you will. And I lent my talents to whatever church I was involved in, but I wasn't actively pursuing music business. I was on the outside looking in,
okay.
and still it's become that way. So about 5 years ago, I decided to form my own band. All this time had gone by, and I thought, gosh, I've got 30 years of repertoire stored up. I might as well just form my own band and call it the Mark Anthony Ensemble, and come what may, just put it out there, put my music out there to the court of public opinion, if you will, and just see what happens. And so now the band's been in existence 5 years. We are mostly an original showcase band, which showcases my material that I wrote, but we also do a fair amount of cover material because you have to do that if you're playing out in public. And it's been a successful venture for me. I now have 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, I got discovered after all those years went by. 34 years went by, nobody remembered who I was, and an independent record label discovered me on LinkedIn, on social media, and I got signed with them. And that was about, like I said, 3 years ago. And at this point now I have 10 singles out on 80 plus platforms worldwide. I'm working on single number 11 that should come out in the next month. And I'm just having fun doing, what God's called me to do, make music, put smiles on people's faces. The band is tight and I'm just having a ball doing what I'm doing.
Wow. All right. So that's amazing. I have a question for you.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I misunderstood. So you sang like in churches, you sang a little bit. It's not like you completely stopped, right?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
good.
correct. I didn't stop completely.
Right, because that's
It's just
hard to
not,
do. Right. Gotcha.
just not actively pursuing an
Yeah.
artist career, wasn't going down music road
Yeah.
because I had to raise a family and work
Yeah.
a full-time career.
Beautiful.
So, you can only
Beautiful.
spread yourself so thin.
No, that was beautiful. Okay. So now, all right. So now I have a couple questions for you. So growing up, who were some of your inspirations in music?
Yeah, great question. I grew up in the Northeast, as you know, we talked about that. And then I moved here from Connecticut, where I was born and raised, went to the University of Connecticut. And at that time,
And you moved to Tennessee, is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay,
moved
go ahead.
to Nashville. But when I was growing up, what I gravitated to, of course, I went through my heavy rock and roll era like everybody
Sure,
did,
I
right?
loved it. Yes.
Grew out of that and started listening to country. Someone introduced me to mainstream country and somewhere around the late 80s, right? When country was starting to turn more to the rockabilly format, had a little bit more rock infused. And that appealed to me because I had been listening to what wasn't exactly country. It was more Eagles, Fogelberg, Dan Fogelberg, Jackson Brown, James Taylor, Poco, Loggins, and Messina, the pretty music of the 70s and 80s. That was what I cut my teeth on.
Okay.
And when I was in college, I got my acoustic roots down by playing in a trio. We toured all over New England. It was called On the Road Again. So that was my acoustic side, listening to that kind of music. And then I got into rock and roll, like classic rock. And then somebody introduced me to country. And at that time, like I said, country was just changing from the old style, crying your beer, three chord, kind of stuff, to more of the structured melody, structured harmony. Great vocal groups came out at that time, like, let's see, there was Vince Gill, Ricky
Yes.
Skaggs,
Yeah.
Alabama, Restless Heart, Diamond Rio, all those groups. So that kind of appealed to my rock side as well. So I just kind of took all those influences and blended them into my own style of Americana music, along with my finger picking style on guitar. And so the Mark Anthony ensemble music is a blend, really, of all of that.
That's so cool. I understand what you're saying. When I was younger, I didn't love the old country.
Yeah,
I didn't love
yeah.
it, but what you said resonated with me because that's when I started to like it as well.
Yeah.
Beautiful, amazing. Do you have one particular artist? Like, all right, so I always say I was born too late, right? I'm 63, but I'm an oldies Elvis and doo-wop girl. That's it.
Uh-huh.
And of
Yeah.
course, you can't take the rock and roll out of me. Led Zeppelin, Foreigner, Genesis. I mean, I've been to all the
Oh, yeah.
concerts, right? You can't take that out of me.
Yep.
But,
Yes. Yes.
but
From London, England, right?
Right,
Yes.
but
Yes.
I'm an
From London,
oldies
England,
girl.
right?
That's really what
That's
owns
great.
my heart. But do you have like one artist that you could say is your guy or girl?
Yeah, that's another great question because that's another great question.
Wait,
Because,
hold on, Mark.
at that time I came here.
Hold on, Mark, hold on 1 second. We're having some reverb issues.
Yeah, I can hear it. Yeah, I can hear it.
Hold on, Mark. Should we start over? But it's also like 5 minutes. How many minutes? Are they going to see like a lull for all that time? How many minutes? Huh? 1 minute? All right. All right, Mark, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
Okay, all right. So, guys, we had a little tech issue. So, for about a minute, you couldn't hear anything. So, Mark, let's continue. And then when I post it, I'll let everyone know there was about a minute of a lull, okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so let's continue.
Okay. Where were we?
So,
Let's see.
we were talking about, like, did you have one particular artist? So, talk about all that.
Yeah, I sure did. I cut my teeth on Eagles. I would say Eagles, I was just enthralled with them as a band, their vocal harmonies, the structure of their songs. But as a singer-songwriter, right, when you want to single out one individual, I would have to say that my music is very reminiscent of Dan Fogelberg. Sometimes it's rock, sometimes it's pretty acoustic, sometimes it's bossa nova and samba beats. Because he did everything. He was just amazing as a minstrel. He played a multitude of instruments. He did all of his harmonies in the studio. He rarely had anybody, that he collaborated with. And yet his recordings sounded incredible, especially when his live band came together. So I would say my music is very reminiscent of Dan Fogelberg music. Now, when I came to Nashville, of course, being new to the Nashville country music scene, I was also new to Christianity. And I talked about that with you a little bit. But, I gave my heart to the Lord after I moved here and accepted Jesus as my Savior. And at that time, the people who were in my new circle of friends introduced me to contemporary gospel music, which I never heard in the Northeast at all. And they introduced me to the forerunners, the forefathers of contemporary Christian music. And at that time, it was Amy Grant, Sandy Patty, Mylon Lefevre, Stephen Curtis Chapman, Steve Green, all these great musicians. And so, I gravitated toward that as well. And I would say that out of all those people, Stephen Curtis Chapman was my Dan Fogelberg of Christian music, if you will. His guitar playing was great. His singing was great. Loved his music, his songs. And so I would say those, if I were to juxtapose everybody of all my influences, I'd say Dan Fogelberg and Stephen Curtis Chapman on the Christian music side. That's
so cool. My favorite, of course, is Elvis Gospel. I
Yeah.
mean, I listen to it every day. I just love it. It's amazing. But yeah,
Hey, this is the home of Elvis, as you know. He's
well,
only 3
duh.
hours.
Heck yeah, baby. All right.
Graceland from here. As a matter of fact, my band is playing in Colliersville. We just got found out yesterday. We're playing a big festival there, which is right close to Graceland. Very close.
So I have a question. I never really asked any of my ETAs this either, my Elvis tribute artists. So is it frowned upon, like if you're doing festivals, to sing Elvis songs?
No, absolutely
Oh,
not.
okay. All right. All right.
Oh, gosh, no. Not
Are
in
you going to
Tennessee.
sing any?
We don't do any Elvis in my repertoire. If anything, we do a little Beatles medley
Okay.
that people really enjoy.
That's
and
cool.
we throw that out there as well, to keep things fun and interesting. Because I love their music. I grew up on their music. And what was funny, I wasn't a fan of them when girls were falling out, in high school. I became a fan of them later on in life because I appreciated them as songwriters, as great songwriters. Because as I evolved into a singer-songwriter myself, I got to more of a greater appreciation of what I did when I wasn't really a songwriter, when I was a budding songwriter. So yeah, I appreciated them later on in my life and really revered them for what they did.
Wow, that's so cool. So, all right, what was your favorite Beatles song?
Oh gosh. I think of the old songs like Twist and Shout, Hard Day's Night,
Oh, yeah.
all those songs you can get up and dance to. I wasn't so much, I didn't gravitate to the more softer side of the Beatles. I like the good old dance music.
I liked them all. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I liked them
Yeah,
all.
it was great. Really great material.
So we're going to play one of your songs. We have 3.
Okay.
So let's play the first one, and then you're going to talk about it, okay?
Oh, sure. Yeah, happy to.
Here we go.
promise I will love you forever, and will provide a love that is true for you. All of my heart and soul to you. All of my love for you. All of my heart and soul to you. Now and forever, all of my love for you. The rains will come and the winds they may blow, but I will keep you safe from the storm for you. All of my heart and soul to you. All of my love for you. All of my heart and soul to you. Now and forever, all of my love for you. All of my heart and soul to you. Everything for you. All of my heart and soul to you. Now and forever, all of my love for you.
So that was amazing. The song was for you. We could hear it perfectly. You didn't get to hear it?
Oh, no, I hope it sounded good on your
Sounded
end.
great.
No,
I
it was-
even checked how it sounds live out there. It sounds great.
Oh,
So
good. I'm so glad.
yeah, we don't know why that happened, but so let's talk about that song. Tell everybody about that song.
Yeah, I released that about a year and a half ago on Iron Gate Records, the label that I'm on. And, it's funny, I wasn't promoting that song after it was released. And after I met Caden, we decided to re-release that song. He put it on Radio Indie Alliance. And just a month ago, he emailed me and said, hey, your song is coming in at number 10, on Radio Indie Alliance. And then he frantically called me the same day and said, your song went from number 10 to number 2. in
That's
the
so
same
cool.
day." So, I love that song because it's reminiscent of the traditional days of courting and dating. It's a little bit of a story about how I dated my wife. And, I just wanted to tell a little bit of a story that had a good melodic structure to it, was kind of catchy. It's kind of a pop rock song, but at the same time, lyrically, it's about traditional courtship and traditional dating. When you took a girl home and you brought her to the door and you were polite and you were a gentleman. So it had, those kind of lyrics is what was suggested in there.
That's beautiful.
I love that song. When it came together, I already heard all the parts of the band, but when I wrote it, of course, it was just me and acoustic guitar. So we made that happen in the studio, and I'm very pleased with how that recording came out.
Okay, good. So, Ruben, what's the next song we're going to be playing?
The Mystery.
The Mystery. We're going to play this one next as well. Then I want you to talk about that.
Okay.
And then
very
let me
different
know if
song.
you can hear it, but we will be able to hear it. Okay.
Okay.
Close that door, Ruben, please.
He knelt down to find an answer. His hands were folded quietly in prayer. He was praying for a reason. From the depths of his despair, then he heard the words of Jesus. He asked of him, and this was his reply. Oh, Jesus, where can I find you in a world untrue? If you're looking for me, I live in you. Then the mystery unfolded. He asked the Lord to come into his heart. It's an overwhelming feeling when you find the missing part. And though he tries to understand it, can't deny the mystery of faith. Oh, Jesus, where can I find you in a world untrue? If you're looking for me, I live in you. Well, your sins have been forgiven. You were once in chains, but now you're free. And His Spirit lives inside you. That is Christ the mystery. Preach the news in all the nations, teaching them the mystery of faith. Oh, Jesus, where can I find you in a world untrue? If you're looking for
That's absolutely beautiful. Were you able to hear it?
No, it's in and out, in and out.
Okay, it was fine. We listen. It's
Oh,
going to
good.
be perfect. So
Oh,
tell everyone about the song.
You know, that song is a very, very personal song for me, as you would gather. You know, when I got saved, I wrote that song, and I decided that this was going. You know, I've written a lot of love songs, songs about relationships and love, as most singer-songwriters do. But I decided that this was going to be a different love song. I called this song my love song to Jesus.
Yeah.
When I do my shows, I always find time to put that song in the repertoire and say, this is my love song to Jesus, right? So I wrote it out of my personal salvation experience, but I wanted to write a song that was universal in its appeal and write it generically enough without a lot of detail so that many people could relate to the salvation story. And basically that song talks about the bedrock of our Christian faith, which is Jesus living inside of us. That's the mystery. And so I put that out there, and for years I was singing it, and people were telling me, "You got to record that song. Got to record that song." So finally, after a lot of years went by, I decided to do it, and it's just been received so well. And currently now with Caden on his show, that is the song that we've got out there for this month on Radio Indie Alliance, and I sure hope that people enjoy it.
Caden Gordon, everybody. That's who he's talking about. I want to read a little bit of my Jesus poem that I wrote that's in my book. I'm not going to read the whole thing because this one's a very long poem. I'm just going to read just bits and pieces of it, okay? I'm not ashamed to proclaim his name. I'm not ashamed. It's God I claim. The world stirs hate, but God stirs love. The world's lost faith. It's found up above. The world says God's a myth. The world says God is fake. God says I'm really here. God says I'm no mistake. The lost are broken, the broken are lost, condemning your soul, not sparing the cost. God says, listen, I'm here for you. Just come to me. I'll make you new. You laugh at him and curse his name. You dance with evil in this war game. Religion is false as can be, was made by man and not by he. Religion still has God nailed to that cross, making you think the church is your boss. When Jesus said it is finished, they took him off that cross. He rose from the dead so your soul wasn't lost. He no longer dangles on the cross from that day. He's free from that cross. Jesus now made the way. We wear a cross because we're his kid, to be reminded what this man did. Come as you are and don't pretend. He knows all things beginning to end. Then I found God, the real one I mean, not statues on crosses, but the God I have seen. I cried out one night, whoever's out there, please show me the truth, does anyone care? It was then that I heard him as clear as can be, I'm here and I care, I made you for me. You are not alone, I will lead the way. I'll never leave you, your price I did pay. I'll protect you and guide you as long as you want. Tell me your sorrows, I'm your confidant. I'm your heavenly father, you're my earthly kid. There was a price on you, to the highest of bid. It was then that I marked you and said you were mine. I knew at that moment you were made to shine. I'll never put rules on the way you should live. I gave you free will from my life I did give. You have the choice is yours. There are two choices behind the doors. One choice is distant and it will bring pain. One choice is closer and it will bring gain. The cross I was nailed to for you, not in religion's name. It was you that I knew. When Jesus took up the cross, he died on it for you. Now, you need to accept him so he can make you new. Ask him to take over because you are way too weak. I promise strength he'll give you. If only Jesus you sing. If only Jesus you seek. It is finished were his last words. His flock will now be saved, marching in herds. It is finished, I know he said, so you can live and not be dead. Yeah. Ask Jesus to free you of bondage Satan holds. Ask Jesus to stand guard as the Bible now unfolds. All that was written is being played out. Will you be ready or will you have doubt? Will you be ready the day he returns or left behind to feel the burns? My prayer is this, that you take heed to know the reason Jesus did bleed. The time is near, it really is. Will you be ready to say you're his?
Oh, so good. That's so good. You know, Geri, I'm not known as a contemporary Christian artist, even here in the midst of that business. It's a huge business here in Nashville. I'm not known as that kind of artist. I write Americana material. But, regardless of that song, when it comes right down to it, you look around in our world nowadays, people just don't have answers. There's some crazy things going on. And I always tell people, whether it's in my shows or not through that song, Jesus is the only one that can heal a broken heart. And everybody needs healing out there. There's people that are just carrying all kinds of stuff. Suicide is at an all-time rate amongst young people,
Yes.
and people are just looking around, and they're afraid, they're fearful. And so I hope that when people hear my song, it points them to the only one who can heal a broken heart. And like I said, I always find time. God's given me a platform through my music. And even though I'm not known, like I said, as a Christian artist, I always find time to give God credit for the talent that he gave me. Because, and I tell this to aspiring songwriters and people who are musicians, if God's given you a gift,
Yep.
especially in music, whether you're a singer, a player, a songwriter, you never know when people come to your shows what people are going through. And it may be a lyric, it may be a change that you do, on guitar, something that touches people. I cannot tell you how many times I'll play a show and people will come up to me and say, man, that lyric, it really touched me. I'm going through a divorce. I just lost my mom. I just lost a loved one. So I tell people, use your gifts, for God's glory. That's what he gave it to you for.
So, all right, you're going to laugh at this. The poem I was
Okay.
supposed to read is called Utilizing Gifts and Talents. I read
Ah.
this at all my shows when I do artists. And
Wow.
you just basically said every single thing. I'm not going to read the whole poem, but I'm going to read a couple things for you. All right?
Well, how about
Because
that? Okay.
it's called,
Shoot.
we are born with talents. We are born with drive, with different gifts to help us thrive. Okay, and then I go through my gifts. Our gifts and talents should all be used. God's gift to us, not be abused. All right, and it goes on. And then it says, don't take for granted the gifts you're given. Go out and spread the joy. Our gifts are not to be held back for us to self-destroy.
Amen.
Okay,
Amen.
put your efforts forth. Do not hesitate. All your talents, my friend, are never second rate. Never hold them back or you will surely die. Maybe not in body, but your soul will cry. By putting efforts forth, not keeping them at bay, your name, Mark Anthony, baby, will live forever, forever and a day. Okay?
I love it.
So you're right. I can't believe you just basically said what's in that poem that I was normally going to read.
Well, it's a divine appointment, Jerry.
Okay?
That's all I can say.
What you're saying is amazing and beautiful. Did you ever hear of a man named Walter Santos?
Walter Santa. I don't believe so.
Okay,
Is he
so-
here?
You have to look him up.
Okay.
He's in the tri-state. I got to meet him and everything, and he's amazing. He's a minister now. Okay.
All right.
Guess who he sang with, or opened up for? Dion, from Dion and the Belmonts.
Gosh.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So Walter was a drug dealer, and he goes before a judge, and he was going to go away for a very long time. And the judge says to him, "You're not a criminal. You're an idiot." This was way back, way back. He says, "Get back on that stage." All right? So he's like, okay, and he gave him like a 3-year, he had to pee in a cup, blah, 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 whatever. So he takes off, and he goes to L.A. or wherever he goes, Vegas, whatever he does, and he meets Dion, and he's going to open up for Dion.
Wow.
So he sees Dion sitting, reading a book. So he goes over to Dion, and he goes, "Tell me, man, how'd you do it? How'd you change your life?" And the Bible points to this guy. Long story short, he ends up accepting Jesus through Dion.
Wow.
He ends up marrying Dion's sister at the time. It didn't last, but he ended up being his brother-in-law.
Ah.
And he now sings nothing but doo-wop gospel. So he's taken every single doo-wop song. You got to look him up. And he put all gospel words to it.
Okay.
So you'll know all the music, and you'll be like, you got to be kidding me. He's incredible. Walter Santos. Check him out.
I will. I'm going
Okay.
to write it down.
Yeah, because he said, God, if it wasn't for God, and he's right. So now,
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure.
so now, how long have you been a Christian?
I have been a Christian, let's see. Gosh, it's been, over 30 years, maybe closer to maybe 32 years.
Okay.
I got saved shortly after I moved here. Strangely enough, and here's the story.
Okay.
I was in a lot of bars and clubs because I had to make my connections. I was a stranger when I came here. And I was in a lot of writers' shows, writer nights. And there was a house band playing at a place I used to frequent. And I really liked the guitar player. I just liked what he did. I liked his stage presence. And I thought he could help me. So I wanted to befriend him and see if I could make some connections, that kind of thing. And one night I approached him. I said, "Hey, man, can I buy you a beer?" And he says, "Well, I don't drink." He said, "But I'll buy you a beer." And I thought that was really strange because, growing up in the Northeast, I had been around musicians my whole life. And, it seemed like everybody always drank, right? But this guy said he didn't. So when we sat at the bar, we started to find out immediately we had so many things in common. We were raised both from a Catholic home. I came from a Catholic upbringing. So we
Me
were both
too.
raised in religious homes, right? And he said that he went to Catholic school. He was an altar boy. I said, "Wow,
Me
I
too.
was the same thing." He says, "But I'm not a Catholic anymore. I'm
Me
a
too.
Nazarene." So when he said I'm a Nazarene, I was new to the South. I had never been exposed to any of the Protestant faith. So I looked at him like, "What is that? Is that some kind of cult?" He said, "No." He said, "It's Protestant faith." He said, "Why don't you come to my church?" Well, Jerry, he invited me over and over and over again, and I kept putting him off, because I thought it was weird. I just said, "No, maybe some other time." And my wife at the time, I went home and I said, "This guy keeps inviting me to his church." I said, "Let's just go one time. Let's get it over with. Get him off my back. He won't bother me anymore. And maybe I'll get some brownie points." It
Okay.
was purely a selfish motive.
Okay.
So I went to that church. It was a Wednesday night. I'll never forget it. The preacher wasn't the best preacher in the world, but he was preaching John 3:16. For God
God
so
so
loved the
loved,
world,
yep.
right?
Gave his
That
only
he gave his
begotten
only
son.
begotten Son, that whosoever shall believe in him shall have everlasting life. Well, I had never heard it in my entire life. And I was probably about 30, 31 years old, something like that, new to Nashville. And it just cut to my heart. There was something about it that just convicted me. And then my friend started feeding me a lot of Christian music, Christian resources. And I devoured that stuff. I was like a dry sponge to it. And that's when like I had explained to you, when I heard all those Christian music artists. And I was getting the gospel through the music, which he knew I'd love the music. Well, he gave me a tape of a guy named Mike Warnke. Now, you may not remember Mike Warnke, but Mike Warnke was the number 2 guy in the Church of Satan. He was way on up there out
Okay.
in California.
Go ahead.
He cut off one of his fingers in homage to Satan. He was the number 2 guy. But he was he was in the Navy, and he was on a ship, and he had bunkmates who were evangelical Christians, and they were witnessing to him and telling him about Jesus. And he kept telling them, "Leave me alone. I don't want to hear any more about Jesus." And the story was that he ran and he hid in a broom closet on that ship somewhere.
Yep, I know the story. I just didn't know the name. Go ahead.
Yeah, when he was in that broom closet, he cried out to God and he said, "God, if you're real, you're going to have to make yourself real to me right now, right here." And they say he had a Damascus Road experience, just like Paul did, on the road to Emmaus. And he came out of that broom closet, they say, a changed man. His countenance was different, everything else. He went on to become a Christian evangelist / comedian. He did shows, and he was responsible for leading thousands of people to the Lord. Now, I heard his testimony on this tape, and I was in a cubicle. I was in the engineering field at the time. I was listening to that story, how he had known about God up here, right? But he didn't know him down here. And he had been running from God his whole life. And I felt like, wow, that's my story. I know about God up here, but I just don't know him in here. And after I listened to his testimony, at about the 10th time I listened to it, I felt like something had come up. Still to this day, I can't explain it. But I felt like the weight of the world, that the sin and the guilt and the shame I'd been carrying my whole life came off of my shoulders. I dropped to my knees in my cubicle at work, and I started weeping out loud. Now, my coworkers were walking by me looking at like, what is going on with Mark? So I went to that preacher that we had been visiting. I told him the story about what happened. And he says to me in a Southern drawl, he says, "Son, I believe you got saved." And it was from that point on, I never turned around to look back on my Christianity. Now, I've been on the mountaintop, I've been in the valley, but most of the time I've lived somewhere in between. But after those, now it's been 32 years, I've never turned around to look back.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Sure.
So, wow, all right. So now I have a question about your music that you write.
Yep.
I know you can't say exactly, but about how many songs have you written?
Oh gosh, I've got a repertoire now of probably about 50 songs. I don't play all of those when we
Okay.
play out in concert. We play a set of any length, anywhere from 30 minutes to 3 hours of
Okay.
original material, sprinkled in, with the cover stuff. And the Mark Anthony Ensemble has evolved over the years. It started out as a very quiet acoustic thing. It was only myself on acoustic guitar with a brilliant dobro player. So it was very acoustic-ish, right? Just like in the coffee
I
house
like that
days. Then
acoustic-ish.
we added a cajon player sitting behind us, pounding out a little bit of a rhythm, and then we added a bass player, and all of a sudden it started to sound like a band. Well, I had always wanted to form an Eagles type band, so my dobro player got ill. He had to have major surgery on his hand. He couldn't play anymore. So I totally changed the instrumentation because I play electric and acoustic. Picked up another electric and acoustic guitar player and kept the same bass player and now a full kit drummer. And now all of a sudden it was a rock band. And it sounded a lot like the Eagles because it was acoustic music and it was rock music and it was somewhere in between, all mixed in one. So that's when I birthed the Mark Anthony Ensemble. So it's evolved over the years with different players, but I'd say this is the best culmination of players I have ever had.
Tell everyone their names. Tell everyone
Yeah,
their names.
it's Peter Cap. He's originally from South Africa. He moved here to Chicago to do the Chicago music scene. Then he came to Nashville. That's when I discovered him. So currently we have on lead guitar and acoustic, and he sings background vocals, Peter Cap. My bass player is Roger Scheimoff. Roger is fairly new to the band. He's the newest member, but he brings a whole lot to the band in that he doesn't just play bass, but he sings background and he also plays keyboards. So sometimes we have him double on keys and we'll do backing tracks so that we don't miss that instrument. Then I've got Nate Russell on drums. Nate and I met years ago in church in a worship band. He's a black fella that has a wide range of musical influences besides contemporary gospel. He plays jazz, funk, rock, acoustic. He plays anything. So after my last drummer departed from the band because he was playing in a couple of tribute bands, I gave Nate a call, and it was funny. I gave Nate a call, and he says, "Dude, I don't know how you knew that I was thinking of you. I'm playing one of your singles right now called Take Me Down Slow." I said, "Nate, I need you, brother." And he says, "Man, I am right there for you. Whatever you need me for, I'm there." So he is our drummer, and he does a fantastic job. He's got chops like,
Very
like
cool.
like anybody. He's
Very
just
cool.
he's really good. So that's what we have. It's a four-piece
Very
band,
cool.
bass, drums, guitar, and sometimes the guitar mix are two electrics. Sometimes it's two acoustics. Sometimes it's acoustic and electric. Sometimes I just let the band lead the stage and I'll just perform by myself and just do a song by myself on acoustic.
Very
So we
cool.
get people in the course of an evening, they've gotten everything. They've gotten rock and roll, acoustic, folk, pop, and we like to mix it up with different rhythms, different colors, different textures. Sometimes, like I said, it's four on the floor rock and roll. Sometimes it's pretty acoustic, finger picking stuff like you heard on The Mystery. Sometimes it's bossa nova, samba. Sometimes it's islandish, calypso kind of music. We really mix it up.
I love
It's a
that.
great,
So,
great
producer,
showcase.
what's the third song we have?
Is it my latest?
What is it? When Will You Come?
Oh, that's my latest single. That's
Okay.
out right.
So, yes. Okay, so let's play that and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Here
okay.
we go.
You stole my heart when you broke it. Why did you do me that way?
That was amazing. So, tell us about that song.
Yeah, you know, it's a story about two lovers that had parted ways, like a lot of relationships, right? A lot of the years go by, and they still have that nagging feeling. Does he ever think about me? Does she ever think about me? That's what that song's about. I mean, it's just pure romance, but I wanted to frame it up with music that was very Jimmy Buffett-ish, if
Yeah,
you will.
ish. I love
Um,
that.
well, Jimmy Buffett-ish in homage to Jimmy because this past year when I released that song and recorded it, you know, he had passed this past year, and he was a milestone. You know, when it came to that form of music, I didn't really write it with him in mind at the time, but it is kind of my tribute to Jimmy Buffett because um, that that rhythm, that texture, you know, is very reminiscent of what he did. Now, the pedal steel that you hear in there is done by a very famous guy, a guy named Bruce Boughton. I want to give a shout out to Bruce
Sure.
Boughton on that recording. Bruce played on all of the Ricky Skaggs albums back in the 80s and 90s. He was the guy that played on Country Boy. He was the guy that did those amazing fast breaks on pedal steel on Highway 40 Blues. He played on Garth Brooks's records, and I was in the recording studio doing my basic tracks for that song when I saw a lap steel in a guitar case, and it was open. And I asked the recording engineer, I said, "Is that yours? Do you play that?" He says, "Oh, that's Bruce Boughton's." And I said, "You mean the Bruce Boughton?" Because I've been such a fan of him, of his for so many years. And he says, "Yeah." He says, "I can get him in here, play on your record." I said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "Please get Bruce in here." So he did an amazing job, as you can tell. You know, he just layered it real pretty and did the answer backs real nice. And so I'm excited about that song. Again, it's not a cookie cutter song. As you listen to my songs, you'll see they're all completely different rhythms, different textures, different instrumentation. And that one is a testimony again to the difference in my music.
Beautiful. So, I have a question for you. So, and especially since you've been in Nashville, who have you
Mhm.
met that you've always wanted to meet, and who have you not met that you wish you could have?
Oh gosh, you know, it's funny here. You come to run into celebrities, right? At Walgreens, at the grocery store, at, you know,
Okay.
places, and you after a while you kind of take it for granted. Oh, that's Amy Grant. Oh, that's, you know,
Get
and
out.
it's yeah, it just becomes commonplace, right? So you learn after a while of being here, you don't bother these people. You know, when people first move here, they're starstruck and they go, oh, and they feel like going and bothering them. And can I
I
get your
would
autograph?
bother all of them. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, I know, and that's what happens when you first move here. But you know, I've run into a number of celebrities and have gotten to shake a few hands. I ran into, let's see, not that long ago, Keith Urban. I actually saw him. I was going for lunch one day at a local restaurant, and he was walking Nicole, who was pregnant at the time with one of their children. He was walking her across the parking lot, and we both got out of the car at the same time. And I looked at him and was like, "Wow, that's Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban." And that we walked in together. I just held the door open for him. But you know, I didn't make a big deal out of it because again, these people live here, right? They just want to be treated like everybody else. So a lot of times they'll dress down, you know, they'll put a ball cap on or
Sure.
they'll
So that, yeah, yeah.
have makeup on, yeah, so that people won't bother them, that kind of thing. But most people that live here, they just take it for granted. You're going to see celebrities, you know, all the time, and you just leave them alone. They're just living their lives out.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I would really like to, let's see, if there's somebody I'd like to meet, it would be Larry Stewart of Restless Heart. They're
Oh,
still around, they're still touring. They were popular back in the 90s. They're not on mainstream country radio anymore. But I would say to me, they were the modern day Eagles. They kind of resurrected the whole Eagles sound, Restless Heart did. And I've never met any of those guys. I know who they are. In fact, some of those guys, half of those guys live right in my county where I live. I live in Williamson County, just south of Nashville, which is Davidson County. But I've never run into them. I would like to one of these days.
that's so cool. So we
Yep.
have a few minutes left. I want to give you the mic because I don't want you to get off thinking, oh, I forgot to say this or I should have said this. The mic
Okay.
is yours. What else would you like to say?
Yeah, I'd like to tell people how to find me.
Do all that.
There's a lot of confusion. I got signed as Mark Anthony on Iron Gate Records,
Oh,
and that is really my name. It's my first name and my middle name. So they signed me as Mark Anthony, but I knew right away we were going to get in trouble with that because I tell people, and I just want to clear the confusion, clear the air. I'm the real Mark Anthony, let's state it for the record, and not that other guy, right?
okay.
So I get confused with the other guy, quite a bit. So we released all of my music on the band's name, Mark Anthony Ensemble. You can find all of my music on any music platform you like, Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Music, as well as YouTube. You can find me under the band's name, Mark Anthony Ensemble, because there's way too much confusion if we were to release it under my artist name.
Okay.
So we're on Facebook, Instagram, Bands in Town, naturally YouTube. I have my own website. You can contact me through my website. And my website is markanthonyartist.com, www.markanthonyartist.com. Naturally, the other guy took the obvious domain, so I had to take that one. So you can find me on my website. You can find the band and my music, again, on any of those platforms. Actually, I'm on 80 plus platforms worldwide. So I'm found on the Europe's music platforms as well as the ones here in the United States. And currently I'm recording my next single, which is a real fun rock and roll tune, 1451 rock tune called Dance Until Dawn. I've got a famous saxophone player. It's going to be the first time I've got horns in my song. And we've got a famous guitar player playing on, a guy named Tom Hemby, who Vince Gill has endorsed. So he's amazing. And we're going to release that. Hopefully, we're going to get done with the recording before the end of April, and I hope to release it next month, and it'll be out on all the platforms. I'll be performing that song at the end of this month in one of the largest festivals in the Southeast called the Main Street Festival here in downtown Franklin. It's over 120,000 people. I'll be on the main stage with the Mark Anthony Ensemble on April 28th. If you're down here, please come down and hear the band. We'll be on the main stage at about 4:30 in the afternoon on April the 28th. So that's how you find me.
Amazing. So I want to say thank you for honoring me today with this amazing interview. Wow, you rock, I got to tell you. And, Jesus is smiling down. I got to tell you that too, okay? So
Amen. It's been my pleasure, Geri.
Oh.
Absolutely. And I'm just honored that you would have me on your show.
Oh my gosh, the door is always open. Keep doing what you're doing. I mean, you truly are an awesome songwriter, awesome singer. I mean, and your ensemble sounds amazing. So I want to say thank you to all his fans listening and watching. Please, please share this video. We will also be on iHeartRadio. The audio of this show will be on iHeartRadio next week. I'll let you know the date and time of that. And guys, please share this. So, Mark Anthony, thank you so much.
Thanks, Geri. God bless you.
You too. God bless you. Producer, take us out.
Ladies and gentlemen, Geri Petito.
I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
When you don't know just what to do.
Just what to do, just what to do.
If what you're feeling is really true.
Is really true, is it really true?
Just keep your ideas safe and sound.
Safe and sound, safe and sound.
That's exactly how change is found.
Change is found, change is found. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.